We're already in a recession and you need to start preparing. I have some ideas. Who am I and what do I know? I lived through the last recession, and not only did I live through it, but I thrived. I'm going to give you some of my tips.
America is not doing well right now. We have a 94% prediction rate that the recession is going to come. And let's actually call it what it is, a depression. People can't afford groceries, they can't afford rent, they can't afford buying houses, they can't afford having babies. We are not in a good spot, y'all.
We are headed towards one of the worst and biggest recessions that the United States has ever seen.
Florida, it is $215 a month. You heard that right. $215 a month for water, a basic necessity of life. I got a bunch of comments from around the world, and they destroyed my worldview. I had people from Portugal saying that their water bill was 30 euros. Apparently, in places like Ireland, they don't even have a water bill. It is free. Some of the bad faith arguments will say, well, the salary in the US is higher than in Europe, so obviously you're going to pay more. I'm paying 10 times more a month than someone in Italy pays for their water. In some cases, infinite times more if their water bill is nothing. The cost of water where I live has doubled in 5 years. This is not a luxury we're talking about. It's water, something that rains from the sky. I'm getting priced out of the city that I was born and raised in because I can't afford water. It just goes to show that the more you learn about the world and how other places do things, it makes you learn that maybe you're not the one that's bad with money. Maybe the systems that you live under are just bad with people. I just went to the grocery store and bought 4 things and it cost me $25. A single cabbage cost me $14 in Florida in the United States of America. It was a fairly large cabbage that made a lot of kimchi, but nonetheless, one vegetable should not be costing $14. I've completely stopped eating meat. I'm a vegetarian now because I can't afford meat. It's just also exhausting. I don't have the answers, and I'm hoping maybe you do. Or what do you think's going to happen? Because at this rate, I think nobody's going to have anything in a very short time. And I find that very scary.
All right, guys. All right. So, did you know that 21 states plus the District of Columbia are either in a recession or about to? According to Moody's chief economist, Mark Zandi, that means parts of the country are already seeing slower job growth, higher unemployment, and shrinking local economies. When your state's economy slows down, it means it hits everything. Everything is impacted. People spend less. Small businesses start cutting hours and closing, and local governments are collecting less money, which means it could lead to budget cuts in our schools and transportation and health services. Georgia is one of those states on the list. So this is not just a national issue, it's local. And remember, I'm keep on talking about local. Local elections matter. Local small business matters. Keeping money locally matters. Protecting our economy locally matters. Well, right now we are seeing the impacts locally. It affects how much families can afford, how secure jobs are feeling, and how strong our communities are. We are already seeing the impacts from the federal level, right? We know that in November, a lot of benefits and funding that would have come are not coming because we are still in a government shutdown. Recessions are not just about number, it's about people. Recession is the people.
So everyone is talking about how the cost of living is really high, right? How the cost of living has gone through the roof over the years. And now in America, most people can't even afford a 2-bedroom apartment, right? I just want to share how high the cost of living is now in Las Vegas. And I know the cost of living everywhere is expensive. I know the 3 most expensive states in the United States, number 1 being Hawaii. I don't know specifically, but I know California and then New York, right? I don't know what order for those ones. But I just want to share how the cost of living in Las Vegas has truly gone up. Now, I am from Los Angeles, but my family relocated here in 2006 in Las Vegas. And back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, a studio apartment cost $600. Now, I am someone who has always been friends with people who are older than me. So I have friends who are 5, 6, 8 years older than me, as well as 12 years older than me. And even they tell me, because I was too young at the time, I was not paying rent at those times. But they tell me how they had little bust downs for 600, 700, 800. And I remember when my family moved here, we had a 3-bedroom house, full garage, full backyard, full front yard for $1,300. $1,300 got you a 3-bedroom house, good size, garage, front yard, backyard. You were good. That was back then in 2009, 2010. Now, $1,300 gets you a fucking studio apartment here, a 1-bedroom apartment here, if you're lucky. Honestly, I feel like 1-bedrooms here in Las Vegas are now going for $1,500, and it's like, why would you pay that amount? Why would you pay $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment when technically you can still go and search for a house for that price? Really blew up, I feel like 2 years before COVID hit, and then once COVID hit, rent was just going sky high because landlords weren't getting their money through COVID. That's what they claim, right? Now, I'm from California and I moved to Las Vegas, and I just remember also around that time, like early 2010s, 2012, 2014, 2008, I was constantly hearing about how people were relocating from California to Las Vegas because Vegas was so much more affordable. Now, Vegas is still much more affordable compared to Los Angeles, compared to California, compared to New York. However, I also just want to include that the pay has not really gone up in Las Vegas since these prices have skyrocketed over the years. I think that the minimum wage just got raised to $15. However, there are still places, I don't know how or why or legally how they're able to do it, but there are still places that are still paying like $8.25, $9.25. If you work a job where you get commission, obviously you are making below minimum wage. You're making $7.25 an hour, and all of your income comes from commissions or whatever. There's jobs like that too, but it's just crazy that now you cannot work a regular food, retail, server, job and be able to afford rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. And they want you to make 3 times the income. So I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and yap about how inflation has hit Las Vegas. And it's crazy because our pay hasn't gone up, and the vast majority of our work comes from the Strip or some sort of like hospitality or some sort of serving. That is the structure of Las Vegas, is like serving, nightlife, hospitality, transportation.
22 states are currently in a recession, according to the top economist at Moody's. Construction is in a recession. Manufacturing is in a recession. 6% unemployment in Washington, D.C. before the government shutdown. The average is 4.3%, but that number is a month old. We have lost over 1 million jobs this year. There are no jobs being created because companies are laying off, and they're laying low because of the economy. Also, a lot of companies are losing money and or passing on the cost of goods to the consumer because of tariffs, our new tax. If you did not know, the last time we had tariffs was 1930. It exacerbated and prolonged the Great Depression to 10 years. It is the largest tax hike on American citizens ever, and it hasn't even been approved by Congress. In fact, 2 courts ruled it illegal. The Supreme Court is set to hear it on November 5th. Our national deficit is huge. We are either in or heading for a recession in all states. Please get your finances in order.
The new healthcare prices have just gone public in a dozen states. And this is what people in those states are going to be getting in the mail, showing them how much more they're going to be paying a year in healthcare costs. In Maine, a family of 4 making $130,000 a year, their healthcare costs are going to be an additional $16,100 a year. That's not their total cost. That's in addition to what they're paying now. In Maryland, a 60-year-old couple making $85,000 a year, their healthcare costs will jump $13,700 a year. And in super red Kentucky, who voted overwhelmingly for Trump and Republicans, as they always do, a 60-year-old couple can face an increase of, get this, $23,700 a year, over almost $2,000 a month more than what they're paying now. Un-effing believable.
My home state of Louisiana, the economy is expanding, allegedly. But 22 other states are already in or right on the edge of a recession, and that's according to new data from Moody's Analytics. 16 states, including Louisiana, Texas, Florida, and Pennsylvania, are all still expanding. 13, like California and New York, are treading water. But 2 states, from Illinois to Minnesota, are either in recession or right at the brink. Zandy says the biggest reasons are slowing immigration, rising tariffs, and federal job cuts. States that rely heavily on agriculture and manufacturing are feeling the pressure first. The immigration crackdown is suppressing growth, and states most exposed to federal job losses, like Virginia and Maryland, are struggling too. Washington, D.C., has the highest unemployment rate in the country right now at 6%. Zandy also warned that if big economies like New York or California turn downward, quote, the nation's going into recession. He added, my takeaway is not that the economy is in recession, but that it's pretty darn close. So, while Louisiana is holding strong, so they say, the rest of the country's stability might depend on what happens next in those larger states. So what do you guys think? Are we in it or are we heading towards it? Let me know in the comments.
Look at this budget deficit. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know how they're thinking about fixing this budget deficit? Increasing taxes in the state, sales tax, or some kind of other tax. Don't forget, the red state voted for Donald Trump. They're also paying in federal taxes and getting nothing for it. They're also paying tariffs, just like you and me, and getting nothing for it. So Nebraska and other red states, just so you know, the top 10 states struggling financially right now, you can Google this, 9 out of 10 of them are red states. The top red state that is struggling financially is Texas. People are taking out loans. They're Googling things about debt. They're struggling financially. That's number 1. Number 2, the number 2 state struggling financially is the red state of Florida. So people are struggling to buy their groceries. They're struggling to pay their bills. They are struggling. This is the people, not just the state. The third state struggling financially is also a red state, is Louisiana. Louisiana, the people there are struggling. They're number 3. The fourth top state with the people struggling financially is another red state, which is Nevada. Nevada people are struggling financially. The next state that is struggling, the people struggling the most, is also a red state, which is South Carolina. These people cannot pay their bills. The other top 10 states are all red states except for 1.
A recent Moody Analytics shows Iowa's economy looking recessionary along with 22 other states. One Iowa State economist said our economy has been looking shaky since 2018. So what has our state government dominated by Republicans been focusing on during that time? Tax cuts, of course. And now we've created a $1 billion hole in our budget. Iowa lawmakers, mostly Republicans, and Governor Kim Reynolds approved a $9.4 billion budget this year, yet we're only expected to bring $8.1 billion in taxes. Now, we do have a reserve fund, but that obviously will not last forever. But it is extremely frustrating. The state of Iowa does nothing particularly well, yet Iowa's major income tax cuts that have been phased in since 2023 and continuing through 2026 are expected to reduce annual state revenues by at least $800 million compared to the 2024 year, which is almost the cause of the entire gap between what we're spending and what we're bringing in. And you know what? We'll see if this somehow magically makes Iowa's economy better. But so far, It's not really looking like it. Part of Iowa's economic struggles are also due to aging demographic, lack of workers, decline in financial sector jobs. Sure seems like we're just not making it very exciting to live here, so Iowa's long had a brain drain where college graduates leave the state, shrinking our skilled workforce. The state has lost 4% of its finance jobs between July 2019 and 2025, while the U.S. has added 7%. Iowa's agriculture and manufacturing industries have been impacted by recent tariffs. Then there's slowing immigration, increasing tariffs, federal job tax cuts. And our state government really doesn't seem prepared. And also, 2026, just throwing that extra $350 million that we're throwing at private school vouchers. We deserve better. Read more about Iowa Starting Line. Thanks for watching.
So this past month, my boyfriend and I cut down on our water usage a great deal. We saved about 500 gallons of water. I want you to guess how much our water bill went down by, though. If you guessed just over $2, you would be correct. That is how much the taxes on stormwater and sewage and everything else that's included in your water bill have gone up, to the point where you saving 500 gallons of water makes no difference, basically. Florida has become so unaffordable, and I really haven't heard anybody talk about how expensive our utilities alone have become in Florida. We've got insurance companies pulling out of Florida because it's more likely that there are natural disasters here now than not. And that's not profitable. Having to pay people to fix their houses isn't profitable, so why be in that state? You know, it's not like that's what insurance is for. And our salaries aren't keeping up with this, obviously, because why would they? Why would we need more money to survive? We're not even gonna get into groceries and the cost of living in general in Florida. Utilities is just scratching the surface. This is one of the many reasons my boyfriend and I are moving to Lisbon in less than a year, because we just can't do it anymore. We can't take it anymore. Like, in what world is any of this normal? Oh, and to those of you that voted Republican, is your life any better now? Because I know the vast majority of you do not have millions and millions of dollars. I know you all are feeling the squeeze, but because you're sheep, you probably blame this on the Democrats. Even though all three branches of our government are currently red.
There's no industry, there's no hope for these young kids in rural Arkansas to have a job. Maternal mortality, low. Education, low. Quality of living, low. Infrastructure, super low.
Working Americans are not going to have enough money to pay for food. Working Americans. It's not just about Americans that are unemployed. A lot of the people that receive EBT benefits are working Americans, working full-time. They just can't afford food. But funding hasn't stopped for Israel or Ukraine or Argentina for some reason. The government's still funding and working towards these causes that they're very interested in because it provides them with a lot of money. The oligarchy, the very few, they get a lot of money from these wars and these international projects all over the world, while people here in America who are paying taxes every week or 2 weeks can't afford to eat. Government, the billionaires created this problem.
I'm tired. Why am I working so hard and seeing so little? And look, that's not me being ungrateful, because I want to take the time to say I'm absolutely grateful for everything that I have. I have a home, I have a car, I have healthy children, I'm healthy myself, husband's healthy. I have a lot to be grateful for. But what the hell is going on? Can anybody plug me in on what's going on in society, in economy right now? Like, why is it so hard right now? How come every time I get my check, the shit is gone? I'm tired. I'm thinking of 99 ways on a daily basis on how I'm going to get rich. This is crazy. Y'all are making everything high but the pay. Somebody come get me, because somebody come get me. Oh, Lord, somebody come get me. You hear me? Because
these are things you can realistically do no matter how much money you make, and you can do them starting today or this week to get prepared, because it's going to get fucking worse. You'll hear everybody out there telling you you need to save, which I know is nearly impossible for some people. So I'm going to tell you something else. Stop paying the bills you don't have to. That's right. You officially have permission. You got a medical bill you've been trying to pay down that has virtually no interest on it or no interest. Pay them $5 so you don't get sent to collection. Pay them $2. When they call and harass you, say, please stop. Here is my payment arrangement. That is that. Do not pay them extra. The same go for those ungodly student loans. I enrolled in school, so I don't have to pay my student loans because fuck them. I'd rather get educated than pay them 10 times the amount that I borrowed. But if you can't do that, you only default after 270 days. Pay them every 200 fucking days. Do not pay them the full amount. Stop right now paying anything extra that you don't have to, that's not going to hurt you, and put that money into whatever savings or into paying down high interest things like credit cards. Even your car payment can sometimes get skipped once in a while. Now that might hurt you in interest or in other ways, but they're not going to take the car back on 1 month missed payment for most of us. So if you need to skip those and put something in a savings so that if you lose your job or something happens, you have something, it might be a good idea to do that. And now is the time to consider doing that because places will be less kind as the recession progresses about how they treat you regarding debt.
Things that you can do to better protect and prepare yourself. Start buying all kind of dry foods. Stock your pantries up, guys. Stop spending excessive money on BS because I'm telling you, it's coming. I know people are struggling right now to this day, man, but this is tax times. Pay your rent, your mortgage, or whatever you want to call it, way ahead. Because I'm telling you, once it hits, it's going to be ugly. But when people warn you and tell you that something's going to happen, don't just look at it and say, okay. Start preparing yourself for it, man. Trust me.